Hi guys, this is Dr. Pawan, your surgery educator on Unacademy platform, and today I'm here back with another session of Weekly Quiz and Surgery Part 7. So let's begin without wasting any further time. The first question which we have is, there is a 50-year-old kind of a female who was admitted with an abdominal pain and anuria. The radiological studies basically reveal that there is a bilateral impacted ureteral stone with hydronephrosis. The urine analysis shows RBCs with the pustules in the urine. The serum creatinine was 16 milligrams per deciliter. The urea level was 200 millimoles per liter. Which of the following should be immediate treatment in this particular patient? So what do you think? What should be the immediate treatment? So let's summarize this particular question. Here you have a female around 50-year-old who is coming to you with an abdominal pain and anuria. Okay, you did a radiological studies which basically showed a bilateral impacted ureteral stone. Okay, so you have a bilateral impacted ureteral stone with hydronephrosis. You looked at the creatinine, it was 16 milligrams per deciliter. What will you do? Will you go in for an hemodialysis? Will you go in for a DJ stent drainage? Will you go in for lithotripsy? Or will you go in for a ureteroscopic retrieval of the stone? Now, if you're answering, like if you think the answer is DJ stent drainage, you're absolutely correct. So in this particular scenario, the preferred treatment option would be you have to go in for a DJ stent drainage. Now, why so? Why is this the answer? Please understand, in the question, they have given you that it is a bilateral impacted stone. Now, if at all there is an impacted stone, and if at all you try to do a ureteroscopic retrieval of stone, there is much more chance of the ureteral injury. And at the same time, patient is having hydronephrosis and back pressure changes because the creatinine raised, and that is why it is always advisable to first go in and put in a DJ stent. After putting up a DJ stent, the kind of a pressure in the pelvic electrical system, it will be decompressed, and slowly and gradually the creatinine may come down to the normal level. If it does, then you can plan a ureteroscopic retrieval of the stone. Well, hemodialysis, there is no indication of doing a hemodialysis in this. Please understand, just the creatinine value, just isolated creatinine value, it is not an indication of performing in hemodialysis. There is another list, like for example, acidosis. Then, yeah, there is a different list. There are different indications for the performing a hemodialysis, but just isolated creatinine elevation is not an indication of hemodialysis. Regarding the lithotripsy, now please understand, for lithotripsy, your renal function needs to be normal. So that is ruled out. What is the answer in this particular patient? Degestant. You have to put in a degestant. So this is basically X-ray of patient in which you see that there is a degestant which has been put. This kind of image is very, very important. So I hope you're able to appreciate this is a degestant. That is a double J stent. Why it is called as a double J? Because I hope you're able to appreciate that this particular coiled tubing is present in the renal pelvis, and this coiled tubing is present in the urinary bladder, so that the stent doesn't kind of slips or displaces that easily. And what is the purpose of this DJ stent? The purpose of the DJ stent is it will help in decompressing the pelvic electrical system. As in this particular case, there was hydronephrosis. So it will basically decompress this hydronephrosis and gradually and slowly help in regaining the renal function of the kidney. Okay, so that is the importance of this. Now let us move on to the next question. A patient came to you with a burning micturition with the hematuria. You did a urine routine microscopy and you saw an image like this. So this is the image which you have seen. Now, what is the kind of a stone which you suspect in this particular patient? So I hope you're able to appreciate this is a hexagonal crystals. What are these? These are hexagonal crystals, and hexagonal crystals are basically present in cystine stone. So answer to this particular question is a cystine stone. Now, yeah, I know that you have read these particular different kind of shapes and everything quite a lot of time, but yeah, some of you might be having a bit of difficulty with it. So just kind of revise it with me. Hexagonal crystals are seen in cystine stones. Now, if at all the same kind of a clinical scenario, and this was the image which would have been shown to you. So what is this? This is a dumbbell shaped crystals. What is this? This is a dumbbell shaped crystals. So these dumbbell shaped crystals are basically seen in calcium oxalate monohydrate. Okay, so where do you see this? You see it calcium oxalate monohydrate. Okay, so you basically see this in calcium oxalate monohydrate stone. Then what are these? These are envelope shaped crystals, or which are also referred to as a tetrahedral crystal. So just understand, these are envelope or tetrahedral crystals, and these are basically present in calcium oxalate dihydrate. Okay, so where these present, these are basically present in the calcium oxalate dihydrate stones. Lastly, what are these? These are coffin lid shaped crystals. Okay, so I hope you're able to appreciate these are looking like a coffin lid. So these are basically present in struvite stones. Okay, so these are coffin lid crystals, and these are basically present in the struvite, or a triple phosphate, or a staghorn calculi, whatever you want to call it. But yes, these are the stones which are seen in that particular type of stone. These are the crystals which are seen in that particular type of stone. So just revise these four. These four are very, very important. Cystine stones are seen in, cystine stones have hexagonal crystals. Then calcium oxalate monohydrate, it has a dumbbell shaped crystals. Calcium oxalate dihydrate, they have an envelope shaped or a tetrahedral crystals. And coffin lid crystals are basically seen in the struvite stones. These four are very, very important. Others, if you remember, well and good. Even if you don't, but at least these four are very important. You need to remember them. Okay, let's move on to the next question. What is the instrument which has been shown in this particular image? So what is this? Okay, so this is basically used in treatment of which condition? So is it used in achalasia cardia, GERD, Barrett's esophagus, or esophageal carcinoma? So what do you think? What is the answer to this particular question? Well, please understand this is a kind of an instrument or an apparatus which is used in the treatment of GERD, gastroesophageal reflux disease. Now, what is the problem in the GERD? Our gastric content, whatever the gastric acid is there, that is getting refluxed into the lower part of the esophagus. So you want something which can prevent it from coming into the esophagus. So what like we have devised is we have come up with a kind of a beads of the magnet. So what are these? These are basically the beads of the magnet. So these are the magnets which have been put up into one string. Now they are very small. Okay, so I hope you're able to appreciate with respect to the hand. They are like very small. They are basically of the diameter of the esophagus. Okay, then how do you use it? You basically apply it at the lower end of the esophagus. So this is what is called as a Linux system. So what is it called as? It is called as a Linux system. So they are basically applied in the lower part of the esophagus. So when the patient is kind of sitting normally, nothing, these particular magnets will be attracted to each other, and what is going to happen? The gastric acid will not come into the lower part of the esophagus. But if at all, let's say the patient eats something. Okay, so as you're able to appreciate, the bolus of the food is coming. So when the bolus of the food comes, these magnetic beads, they are kind of pushed apart. The whatever the bolus is coming from above, it goes into the stomach, and as soon as the kind of food goes into the stomach, these magnetic beads again come closer to each other. Are you understanding my point? So this is what is called as a Linux system. So once the kind of food has gone into the stomach, again they will come closer to each other, and again it will prevent the gastric acid to come into the lower part of esophagus. This is how they act. So they might ask you very, very simple thing. They might show you an image of this, and they might ask you this is used in which disease, treatment of which disease, or they might simply ask you Linux system is used for the treatment of. So just understand Linux system is used in the treatment of GERD. I hope you get this, guys. Okay, right. Now let's move on to the last question for the day. Level 5 cervical lymph nodes. Okay, so the level 5 cervical lymph nodes, are they upper jugular, they are middle jugular, they are lower jugular, or they are posterior triangle nodes? Now the answer is very simple. It is a posterior triangle nodes. Now this is a purely question which you need to learn by heart. Now if at all you are having a problem with this particular kind of question, just repeat with me. Okay, just pause the videos and repeat it a couple of times, and you will be thorough with it. Okay, right. So what is it? We have 1A, that is a submental group of lymph nodes. So 1A is a submental group of lymph nodes. Then we have 1B, that is a submandibular group of lymph nodes. Okay, so 1A is submental, some 1B is submandibular. Then we have upper, middle, and the lower jugular. So 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so along the sternocleidomastoid, you have an upper, you have a middle, and you have a lower jugular. Okay, so done. 1A is submental, then 1B is submandibular, then you have upper, middle, and the lower jugular, that is 2, 3, and 4. Fifth group of lymph node is in the posterior triangle. Okay, fifth group of lymph node is in the posterior triangle. Then we have a sixth group of lymph node that is in the central kind of group of lymph node, that is a lymph node station 6. And then the seventh station is in the mediastinum. So I'll just repeat it once, but you have to repeat it at least 3 or 4 times if at all you don't know this. Okay, so just pause the video and repeat it again. I'll just repeat it once for you again. 1A is submental, 1B is submandibular. Okay, 1A is submental, 1B is submandibular. 2, 3, 4 are upper, middle, and lower jugular. Lymph node station 5 is posterior triangle lymph node. Lymph node station 6 is the central group of lymph nodes. Lymph node station 7 is the mediastinal group of lymph nodes. Okay, so I hope you got this. These are the 7 lymph node stations which you have, which you need to learn by heart. In this, what I've tried to ask you, level 5 cervical group of lymph nodes, that is lymph node of the posterior triangle. I hope you got this. Yeah, if at all you don't know this, please pause the video right here, right now, and repeat it a couple of times, and then come back. Okay, right. So that's all, guys. That's all for today. Thank you so much for listening to me so patiently. As you know, that I teach general surgery on the Unacademy platform, and I will be teaching entire general surgery in 99 hours on the Unacademy platform in the course Foundation Batch for the NEET 2021. So this is what I have shared with you. This is basically a schedule for the month of this month. My classes are going to start on 21st. Okay, so the classes are going to start on the 21st of May, and you basically have like what is the schedule for this particular month. So in this month, I'll be teaching around 30 years in this particular foundation batch. So if at all you wish to be a part of it, please do consider. I'll be more than happy to connect with you. And if at all you're already an Unacademy student, please don't miss it. Okay, I'll be more than happy to connect with you guys. Okay, so yeah, just make note of it. I've shifted a couple of classes, so please follow this particular table. Like these are the classes which were not planned in this month, but I have actually shifted these classes from the later months to this particular month so that the course gets kind of completed a bit early. Okay, so just have a look at it, guys. And yeah, if at all you are already an Unacademy student, please do come and attend it. If at all you're not, and if you wish to attend it, please consider subscribing to our Plus platform. You will get immense value. There are so many educators doing so many good things out there. You will definitely get benefited. If at all you wish to join any of the Plus courses, do consider using my promo code dr.pawan. Yeah, if you use this, you will get around 10% off. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you for listening to this particular video so patiently. Thank you so much. Stay safe and happy studying. See you next week. Bye.